Hello, hello. Örülök, hogy ilyen sokan eljöttetek. Van egy rossz választás, és ezt a rossz választást nagyon sokan már megtapasztalták, hogy milyen következményeket hozhat magával. Ugye 10 évvel ezelőtti felvételeket láthattunk, emlékeztek röszkén, mi történt, láthattátok ezeket a felvételeket. Én a magam részéről élőben néztem, otthon ültem, bekapcsoltam a televíziót, és azt láttam, hogy gyakorlatilag megtámadták Magyarországot. Olyan emberek támadták meg a Magyarországot, akik a baloldali nyilvánosságban nem is nagyon léteztek. Miért mondom ezt? Azt hazudták, azt mondták nekünk, akkoriban Soros úrnak rendkívül nagy befolyása volt itt Magyarországon, és igen komoly pénzeket rakott bele a baloldali sajtóba. Most máshonnan érkeznek a pénzek, de ez egy más kérdés. És ezek az emberek, akik ezekben a Soros által támogatott szerkesztőségben ültek, ezek sok-sok mesét költöttek nekünk. Elmondták, hogy magasan kvalifikált, több diplomás emberek érkeznek, nagyon szegény, sanyarú sorsú figurákról van szó. Nekünk kötelességünk, morális kötelességünk segíteni rajtuk, mert egyrészt háború sújtotta országokból jöttek, másrészt pedig hát segíteni fognak nekünk nagyon sok szempontból. Diplomáik vannak, egészségügybe fognak elhelyezkedni, integrálódni fognak, dolgozni fognak, föllendítik Magyarország gazdaságát, sőt Európa gyakorlatilag egyenlő lesz a mennyországgal, hiszen olyan csodálatos dolgok fognak történni. De ezt képest megláttuk a röszkei felvételeket, és valami egészen más láttunk. Azt láttuk, hogy fiatal, katonakorú férfiak ostromolják Magyarországot. Nem voltak gyerekek, nem voltak nők, nem voltak családok, hanem harcedzett, katonakorú férfiak próbáltak betörni Magyarországra. Csodálatos élmény volt. Nem tudom, ti mit éreztetek, én akkor ott azért bennem volt egy kis bizsergés, hogy talán meg kéne indulni a határa, de aztán a magyar hatóságok megoldották a feladatot. Persze utána kaptak a fejükre, tehát mondták, hogy ez nem volt szép dolog, mert ha megtámadják Magyarországot, akkor nem szép dolog, hogyha gumbottal megütjük őket, be kellett volna engedni őket, meg kellett volna simizni a fejecskéjüket, de hál' Istennek megvédték Magyarországot. Ez volt 2015-ben. Egyetlen egy rossz választás. Lesznek itt vendégeink, el fogják mondani, hogy mi történik akkor, ha rosszul választunk. 2015-ben megvédtük az országunkat, megvédtük a biztonságunkat. De hogyha elutaztok Madridba, Barcelonába, Berlinbe, Párizsba, akkor valami egészen más fogtok tapasztalni. Aki járt régebben ezeken a helyeken, mondjuk 10-15 évvel ezelőtt, az azt láthatta, hogy ki lehet menni az utcára, sétálni lehet, még akkor is, ha besötétedik. Még akkor is, ha az ember egyedül van, egy hölgy is ki tud menni az utcára, nem fogják bántani. Most egészen más a helyzet. Lehet ezen persze nevetgélni, beszéltünk az imént Soros úr katonáiról. Még mindig itt vannak, még mindig dolgoznak, még mindig gúnyolódnak, még mindig röhögcsélnek azon, hogy mi félünk. Mit szoktak mondani? Amikor megtörténik egy terrortámadás? Amikor megölnek több 100 ártatlan embert? Azt mondják, nagy hashtagekkel a Facebookon írják, hogy nem félünk. Az a helyzet, hogy én férfiasan bevallom, hogy de én viszont félek. És nem csak én félek, féltem a gyerekeimet, féltem a feleségemet, féltem édesanyámat, féltem a családomat, és féltelek titeket is egytől egyig, magyar embereket, sőt, embereket, hiszen külföldi vendégeink is itt vannak. Én félek, de jobb félni, mint megijedni. Arra szeretnék kérni titeket, hogy hallgassátok meg ezt a panelbeszélgetést, szerintem nagyon izgalmas dolgokat fogtok hallani, és nem csak izgalmasokat, hanem rémisztőeket, mert olyan emberek is itt vannak, akik testközelből tapasztalták, hogy milyen, amikor valaki rosszul dönt. Úgyhogy szerintem férfias dolog bevallani, hogy félünk. Szeretném megkérni Szántó Miklós főigazgató urat, hogy jöjjön föl, nyissa meg utána ezt a rendezvényt. Szervusz, Miklós! Szia! Egy pillanat, Miklós, ne haragudj, és Miklós után pedig legyen kedves, mindenki fölvegye ezt a kis fülhallgatót, ugyanis külföldi vendégeink nyilván angol nyelven fognak kommunikálni, és segíteni fog abban, hogy megértsük őket. Köszönöm szépen.
Köszönöm szépen, Bence. Valóban jobb félni, mint megijedni, de azért ijedtek voltunk 10 évvel ezelőtt, 10 éve és fél hónapja itt Magyarországon, mikor Röszkénél migráns hordák támadták meg a határt. És azért akkor is megijedhettünk, amikor elárasztották ezek a migránshordák, százezrek Magyarországot, Budapestet, megszállták a keleti pályaudvart. Egy picit megtapasztalhattuk azt, hogy milyen is lehet ez a minikalifátus. És erre válaszul Magyarország 10 évvel ezelőtt úgy döntött, hogy jogi és fizikai határzárat húz fel, és hogy mindezt persze ne felejtsük el, ami az elmúlt 10 évben, meg 10 évvel ezelőtt történt, az Alapjogokért Központ bizony kampányt indított, csak egy rossz választás, és mi is bevándorló országá válunk címmel, de ez a kampány nem csak a múltról szól. Sokkal inkább szól a nyugat-európai jelennek a fényében a magyar jövőről, arról, hogy akarunk-e mi is bevándorló országá válni. A magyar szuverenista, a magyar patrióta álláspont az teljesen világos. Nem. De vannak akik Brüsszel bülbülszavú csábításának eleget téve megszavazzák az Európai Parlamentben a migrációs paktumot. Támogatják azt az Európai Parlamentben, hogy Magyarországot igenis büntessék meg napi 1 millió euróra, napi 400 millió forintra azért, mert megvédi a határokat, és bizony vannak olyanok, akik azt mondják a határkerítésre, hogy az egy ilyen felesleges presztízs kérdés. Igen, jól gondolják, ez a Tisza párt, ezek Magyar Péterék, akik jól láthatóan Brüsszelnek az ukázait akarják követni, nem csak az adóemelés, nem csak a családi adókedvezmények eltörlése, nem csak a háborúba való bevonódás vagy Ukrajna EU tagságának támogatása kapcsán, de bizony a migráció kapcsán is. És senkinek semmi kétsége ne legyen annak kapcsán, hogy azért indítanak aljas és alaptalan rágalomhadjáratokat és fake news kampányokat, hogy aláássák a közbizalmat, káoszt és anarchiát teremtsenek, ezen keresztül pedig eljuttassák a Tiszát oda, hogy migránspárti erők vezessék az országot. De hogy milyen is az, amikor valóban migránspárti, bevándorlópárti erők vezetnek országokat, arról fogunk most itt a vendégeimmel beszélgetni. Mindenekelőtt egy olyan hölgyel, aki lecsekkoltam a Wikipédiát, azt írja róla a Wikipédia, hogy az egyik legbefolyásosabb szélső jobboldali influencer, aki olyan konspirációs összeesküvéseket terjeszt, mint hogy a migráció rossz. Hölgyeim és uraim, üdvözöljék a színpadon Hollandia és talán Európa egyik legbefolyásosabb jobboldali véleményvezérét, a CPAC Hungary sztár vendégét, Eva Vlaard. És végül, de nem utolsó sorban, itt van velünk az osztrák politika egyik, hanem a fenegyereke, korábbi osztrák parlamenti nemzetgyűlési képviselő, és korábbi osztrák elnökjelölt, a migráció és a bevándorlás heves kritikusa, nem különben Angela Merkel heves kritikusa. Nemrégiben jött ki a könyve, ami itt is látható, Merkel munkája, a mi bukásunk címmel, amely még nem a konzervativizmusáról, meg jobboldaliságáról elhíresült német Der Spiegel top listáját is vezeti most már talán hetek óta. Hölgyeim és uraim, az egyik legbefolyásosabb influencer német nyelvterületen, Gerald Gross. Hölgyeim és uraim, akkor most fogunk átváltani
de csak
angolra,
egy rossz választás,
megnézzünk egy
és
videót.
oda a békénk, oda a biztonságunk is. Egy rossz választás, és mi is bevándorló ország leszünk. Ismerje meg, mit veszíthetünk a rosszválasztás.hu honlapon.
So now we'll switch to English, unless you already prepared to speak in Hungarian.
I know 2 words.
What's that?
Hello, barátaim.
Quite good. So, but let's talk about more serious issues. My first question to you, Eva, why are you here again? Why did you accept an invitation to Hungary to speak about migration? Why did you accept an invitation to Hungary, which country is handled as the black sheep of Europe, if it comes to migration as well?
You know, I accept every single invitation I can get to go to Hungary, because Hungary is, to me, technically the only country left in Europe that represents what Europe truly is about. So, strangely enough, I feel more at home here now than I do in my own home country. So I'm very, very happy to be here today. And I'm also very happy that we get to discuss the most urgent matter at hand, which, as you rightfully said, you're only one decision away from losing your homeland as well. And if I can do anything at all to help you prevent that, then I will do it.
Thank you very much. We'll come back to that advice. But now I turn to Gerald with the more or less similar question. Why are you here? Austria is not that far away, of course, and Vienna is not that far away from Budapest. But again, you are one of the really the most influential influencers in the German-speaking world. You just published this book, and you are making now a book tour all around Austria and Germany. But despite your burdens and your work, you accepted our invitation to Budapest to discuss the topic of migration and its consequences. Why did you do so? Why did you accept this invitation? Again, you will be described as a fascist in the German-speaking liberal media.
Aren't we all?
Viktor, thank you very much for the kind invitation to Budapest. Your question, it's clear for me. Hungary is today the better Austria. And it's the safe Austria. It's the safe Europe here. 10 years ago, there was a decision to go with Angela Merkel, with her policies with open borders, with the migration of 9 million people from other continents, from the Islamic world. And here in Hungary, it's a safe space for European citizens, for women, for girls, for Jewish citizens, and also for homosexuals. Yeah, it is it. When you are gay people and you go to Berlin and you drive with the taxi, you have a problem. Because there is a young 10, 12, 14 years old terrorist, and you will be the victim of the Islamic culture in Berlin or in Vienna, and here in Budapest is safe. In Hungary there live 100,000 Jewish citizens, and you can wear the kippah on the streets of Budapest. It's no problem. That's a problem in Berlin or in Vienna. It's a great problem.
Fair enough. Thank you very much. We'll come back to the cultural issues and the collapse of the European civilization. But first of all, I would like to start with purely material issues. So let's not talk about security, rising anti-Semitism, public safety, etc. But let's begin with the beginning. The original plan, as far as I remember, 40, 50, 60 years ago in Western Europe was to help the European labor market with migration, using migration, to guarantee additional potentially skilled workforce for European economies, and in that way it will be possible to maintain the European welfare system, the social security system, the healthcare system, and of course, in general, as a result, migration will help the European economy as well. The other way is the Hungarian solution to support families to have more kids and more children, but as a purely material or materialistic point of view, did it happen? Did migration save the European economy? What do you see? Gerard, now I turn to you. What do you see in Germany, in Austria and in Germany? Is it a success story?
No. The costs for migration in Germany for 1 year is 50 billion euro. 50 billion euro in 1 year. And in Austria, 2 billion euro. That's that's horrible. That's horrible for the economy. And two-thirds of welfare receipts are people with migration background in Germany and also in Austria. They are not workers. They are people that come to Austria, to Germany, to Europe, to live a better life with our money, but not more.
What about the Netherlands, and what do you see in Italy? Because now you live in Rome,
Yes.
as far as I know, so you have at least 2 experiences.
Yes.
So again, purely materialistic economic issues. How do you look this question?
Well, let me start off with my home country. The costs of immigration are, as in every Northwestern European country, astronomical. So we still, which is something that surprises me, but we have to keep on countering the diabolical lie, I will call it a diabolical lie, that immigration is necessary to solve the aging population
It's a lie.
issue. It's a total and complete fallacy. Anyone can do the math. Of course, stating the obvious, the immigrants that come to our country are oftentimes economic immigrants. They're not actual refugees who come, as Gerald said, to live a better life at our expense. So the Dutch tax-paying population is paying for them, paying for their houses, paying for their education, paying for their healthcare, which puts pressure on the welfare state that then in turn is no longer available for the native Dutch population. So the idea that we can bring in immigrants to solve the issue of the pressure on the welfare state is the most crazy concept that I've ever heard of, but it still lives on in the minds of the Dutch population. When you ask them, oh, but don't you agree that we maybe should, close the borders or at least lower the number of immigrants coming in, they will still tell you, yeah, but what about the aging population problem? It still is a lie that lives on. So we cannot target it enough and we cannot counter it enough, because the opposite, of course, is true. Nothing is available for the native population. We can't get houses. And of course, if you can't get a house, if you don't have those types of aids available to you, it becomes harder and harder to have children. And we see that, of course, in the reflection of the low birth rates of the native population. So it's a downward spiral. German has a beautiful word for it, a Teufelskreis, I believe.
I understand it, Teufelskreis, yeah.
I got it. this diabolical circle that you cannot come out of if you continue the way that we are doing right now. So that is indeed, it's interesting to me that we still have to say that, because you think that it's obvious, but it clearly isn't.
There is a additional or related issue, the education system, schooling, and in your book you write about the negative side effects of migration if it comes to the Austrian and part of the German education, in primary schools, in high schools. what are the details? We always speak about labor market, economy, GDP figures, big social security system, but what's the situation in the schools? What is with the little kids?
Because my German, my English is very bad, but my
It's
English
not.
is better. No, but my English is better than the German of the childs of Angela Merkel. Yeah, they come to Vienna. 90% of the schoolboys and schoolgirls in Vienna don't speak one word German, but they live in Austria, a German language country. That's a problem. They don't learn anything. They don't learn humanity. They don't learn mathematics, economy. They don't learn other languages. And after the time in the school for 8 years or 9 years, they're going in prison. Or in the social welfare. That's the future for these young people. And that's the reality in Austria. That's the reality in Germany. And we have a great problem with them in Austria. I think Donald Trump was last week at the United Nations, at the General Assembly. And he said, Europe go the way to hell. And especially Austria, because 53% of the people in prison are with migration backgrounds. And this is horrible. But that is the reality. And the reality begins in the schools and ends in the prison. Yeah?
Then
it's a little bit Ratzinger English. Do you know, dear brothers and sisters from Pope Benedict? I'm so sorry.
let's
I speak better in German.
Your English is perfect, I should tell you. But then now let's talk about real social security. I mean, security of the society, security of the individual. So Hungary, thanks to God, Hungary is now a safe country. But our observation from the media, and of course as tourists, when we visit at least big cities in Western Europe, is that migration brought criminality, migration brought terrorism, migration created no-go zones, which was first denied by Merkel and other ones. Then they admitted that, yes, there are no-go zones in big European cities. And of course, organized crime, drug trafficking, and we can list all of the negative side effects if it comes to security issues related to migration. Liberals say, progressives say, at least in our country, who are trying to defend mass migration, they say that that's the natural way of life. Migrants and non-migrants, they are committing crimes, they go to prison, there is nothing special. How do you, as you previously lived in the Netherlands,
Sweden.
In Sweden.
Previously, I lived in Sweden
Italy?
briefly. I'm Dutch, of course, so the Netherlands, I've seen the Netherlands change with my own eyes in the past 10 years alone. As a young woman, already at the age of adulthood, my parents were concerned when I would say, like, oh, mom and dad, I want to go to a party. Be like, oh, okay. You know, because they knew already then and there, not just in the big cities, but even in smaller towns, now in small villages as well, that there was knife crime committed by immigrant men. This has only gotten worse, and the media is still talking about it as if it's incidental, but it's absolutely 100% structural. We are learning about these types of cases, robberies, assault, sexual assault, rapes, murders, every single day in Northwestern European countries. Yeah. Every single day. It's hard to keep up with. And I can imagine that you here in Hungary might hear like only, I don't know, 1/100th of these cases, you know, like 1 out of 100, not more. Because even we don't hear the majority of them. We have to go on X, we have to search for them because they try to cover it up. But the reality is, like you said, Miklos, the result of mass immigration is cultural decay, impoverishment, and insecurity. I cannot think of one single positive aspect as a result of mass immigration. Zero. None. There is none. We are about to lose our countries. Before the end of this first half of the century, if nothing changes in my home country, we will become a minority. A minority. Then it's over.
We will come back to the
In Hungary,
political responsibility. Sorry, go ahead, Gerald.
because in Hungary there's no gang raps. There is no knife attacks. I think so. There is no terrorist attacks. But
Zero.
I don't read it in the Austrian newspaper. In Austria and Germany, one must expect to be stopped anywhere and at any time. And that's the great problem.
Yeah.
I think Europe has split into two parts. And that's the problem. In a west part that giving itself up, and the east part,
Let's say Central Europe.
Hungary, Czech Republic, also Poland, that is protecting itself. And I think that's the main theme.
That's the new division line.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right, Gerald. I think that is probably what makes this so horrible and is such a tangible reality to us Western Europeans, is exactly what you mentioned. This can happen at any time of the day, in any place, not just in the big cities. Because Hungary, of course, I don't have to tell you that, you guys are paying a fine of €1 million per day to avoid the redistribution of migrants into this country. Now, they're doing that in my country on a national level. So it's not just that the immigrants come to the big cities, they are being dispersed all over the nation. So in the smallest of cities, in the smallest of villages, where you have maybe like a general population of, let's say, 1,500 people, they will put asylum centers there with 500 young military-aged fighting men. And the consequences, of course, I don't have to tell you. Very recently, we had a horrible case of a girl, Lisa, 17 years old in Amsterdam, dragged off of her bike and stabbed in the throat and in the wrists, murdered.
We have so many.
It's incredible. You have so many.
We have so on this book, there are the hands of Angela Merkel.
Yes.
With the blood. The name of the girl?
Lisa.
Lisa. And in this book, there's an interview of the mother of Leonie. Leonie was a 13-year-old girl from Austria.
Remember.
She was murdered from 4 people from Afghanistan. And also Anne-Marie, the young girl, 16 years old, of Brockstedt in Germany, who was a victim of a knife attack with her friend Danny. And there are so many victims, thousands of victims in Europe from the policy of Angela Merkel. Anne-Marie, Leonie, Mia, Maria, Yanis, Philippos, young European girls and boys. So many places in Europe. There were places of terror attacks, of blood of this policy. Magdeburg, Aschaffenburg, Solingen, Munich, Berlin, Vienna, Villach, Paris. That's enough. That's
Too much.
enough.
Of course, you cannot measure human life with or of money. But what I hear that it does worth it for Hungary to pay that €1 million per day to protect its borders.
Absolutely, without a shred of doubt. Also double, also triple.
Because
I wish we could do the same.
€1 million per day is better than €50 billion at the year. Believe
that's
me.
for sure. That's pure math.
Much cheaper in the long run.
Or 2 billion. euro, or 700 million alone in the capital city of Austria, in Vienna.
Look
for
at
social
us.
welfare, for
We
people.
can only dream of this. And it's a disgrace. We have to underline, of course, that it's an absolute disgrace that you are forced to pay this money. But you have an Austrian man and a Dutch woman sitting in front of you who are we're getting giggly almost, right? Thinking, oh, if only we could. If only we had had a leader that would have been willing to pay that price. In fact, we had the opposite. We had people who welcomed them in, who wanted them in. Because this, of course, was all done by design. Your book, your cover, is the only right cover. It's because it reflects the truth. Angela Merkel has blood on her hands, but not just Angela Merkel, also Ursula von der Leyen. She's probably my favorite. Merkel can be yours. Great.
Let's talk about public safety as well, but also turn our eyes to cultural issues. And I think the link between these two topics, I mean public safety and the decline of European civilization, is not only the fact that it's visible that migration, migrants mostly with a Muslim background, pose a threat to the Christian heritage and Christian culture of Europe, a fair continent, but it poses an enormous threat to the Jewish communities in Europe, and migration brings heavy anti-Semitism to Europe. I do remember, and this will be maybe a question, but first question to you, Gerard. I do remember that 4 or 5 years ago, in a very good-mannered way and with a good intention, that time socialist, social democratic mayor of Berlin warned the Jews, the Jewish population of the German capital, to avoid wearing kippas in certain areas of Berlin, because it can pose a security threat for them if they would do so. So it was in 2021 in Germany, in Berlin, that the German mayor warns the Jews not to wear kippah.
Yeah. Yes,
It's a little bit,
I said it.
you feel it's absurd.
I said it. The Hungarian Jewish community, 100,000 citizens. The Austrian Jewish community, 8,000 Jewish citizens in Austria. That's a fact. I spoke 2 weeks ago with the owner of a restaurant in the Judenviertel, in the Jewish district in Vienna. It's called Judenviertel, and he told me it's very dangerous. Not in the first district in Vienna, but in other districts, Raumannplatz, Favoriten, Oberla, with migration 50, 60, 70%, and schools with, I think, Islamic 50%. And he told me he thinks he goes to Hungary, because Hungary is, for his family, a safe place. He has here a great Jewish community. He has a government that's very Jewish friendly, Viktor Orban. And it's better to live here. He wants to stay in Europe. He don't want to go to Israel. He wants to stay in Europe. He loves Europe. And he told me the words, Budapest is the better Vienna. Mm-hmm. And that's the reality. And we have the same history. But you have a better future.
I hope so.
I think so.
But of course, finger crossed for you as well, and we will touch up on that in a few minutes. But let's stay with civilization issues and cultural issues. And this one from me, it will be rather a comment masqueraded in a form of question. Our Hungarian experience with this whole how the European civilization will survive or not is that we have two dangerous factors or dangerous developments from the past decades. First of all, that European liberal globalist elites with political correctness, with cancel culture, with this woke insanity, created an empty Europe, a Europe of emptiness, without historical roots, without its traditions, its cultural background, the Jewish, Christian culture, heritage, etc. And in the name of neutrality, somehow we see a technical Europe, an empty Europe. And on the other hand, we have mass migration, migrants coming with a very strong cultural and religious background. They have their own codes of behavior. They have their very own cultural traditions. They arrive here. And what do they see? Nothing. Emptiness. There is nothing to which they could get assimilated or integrated. How do you see this? How do you? My question is, has Europe already fallen? Is it dead already? Or just the cities, but there is hope for the countryside? How do you see, Eva?
Well, there are two aspects. Europe has not fallen. If we say Europe has fallen, things are lost for us.
No, really.
I'm a Christian woman. This is a Christian country. I believe in God. Miracles can happen. But we need a lot of effort. We need a lot of good works in this case. And as long as we have that hope and we keep on fighting, there is hope for Europe. So we cannot, I think people who say, oh, Europe is lost, and of course it's easy to feel that. You know, I have my bad days too when I walk around in Amsterdam and I don't recognize my own city. When you go to Paris and it's incredible. But the people who say that we're lost are absolutely part of the problem because they want you to become demoralized. And that gets us back to this emptiness, right? That I think is at the core of the problem in Europe. It's not, of course, we are facing a two-headed dragon. We are facing and the influence of the Muslim immigration hordes and the globalist liberal elite. But the problem is that those globalist liberal elites, they imported the Muslims. Why did they do that? Because they hate everything that Christian Europe stands for. That is our foundation. Christianity is our foundation, and they've rejected it fully and completely. All of the documents of the European Union negate the existence of Christianity fully, and they absolutely do not mention it as a source of our civilization. That was a willful decision. And if you want to destroy that, which is, I think, their aim, then of course you can bring in the help of Muslims and hundreds of thousands, millions of immigrants who will do maybe the dirty work for you, but they have the same agenda. To me, they have the absolute same agenda. And so the fact that Hungary is a Christian nation and stands for that, you know, on the way here, I saw the big cross again here, looking over the Danube. That is your most powerful weapon. That is your most powerful protection. That should be your shield. And standing tall for that is what will save you in the end.
I think also Europe is not fallen, but cities look like Berlin or Vienna. That's a great problem. First. Second, the East, or Hungary, Poland, Czech Republic is not fallen.
Central and Eastern. That's the political correct way to describe it.
It's politically correct. Central Europe is not fallen. Joseph Ratzinger, Pope Benedict, the late Pope Benedict, said, what is Europe? Europe is the face of Israel, Jewish part and the Christian part. It's the philosophy of Greece, and the law of Rome. And we must defend this. This continent has a great history, 2,000 years. And we must defend the security, the freedom in security, the freedom of speech, the humanity of every single person on this continent against people from Afghanistan or from Syria with the other education, mit einer anderen Sicht auf die Dinge, wie sagt man, mit einer anderen mentality. And I think this is necessary for us to live in a better future. And I speak not about Hungary, I speak about Germany, I speak about Austria. There are great problems in these countries.
What Eva mentioned, that the goal is to destroy Europe, the Europe based on Christianity, to destroy this Europe. With migration, I tend to agree. If you look at this problem with glasses of culture or civilization, but we usually also talk about what can be the political goal. Let's put it that way. A few years ago, 3-4 years ago, Prime Minister Orban delivered a speech in Transylvania, and he spoke about migration and described the political context that European leaders, Brussels, their intention is to create so-called mixed societies, from Portuguese to Estonia, because with similar mixed societies all over Europe, it's much more easier to establish a federal state.
Yes.
United States of Europe. And of course, he was described as a fascist, racist, Nazi. How dare he speak about mixed ethnicities or mixed societies? But looking at the frustration which followed this argumentation from the Hungarian Prime Minister, I detected that there should be something
He hit a nerve.
in this explanation.
Yeah, he hit a nerve because he touched on the truth. Because of course, it broadcasts their true intentions, which is to gain more power. Their goal is an ever stronger, ever greater union, federal Europe, with them, of course, at the head of it. And they're unelected bureaucrats. That's why I told you guys Ursula von der Leyen is my favorite, because this woman is an unelected bureaucrat that behaves like the Queen of Europe. And she thinks that she can become the Queen of Europe much faster. And I think exactly what you said, that Prime Minister Orban hit a nerve there, when she doesn't have to deal with those annoying nationalists, right? With those people who want to safeguard their borders and they want to protect their heritage and they want to protect their languages and their cultural differences. And then they say, oh, diversity is our strength. What are you talking about? We have diversity in Europe. We have all the diversity that we need. They want to make us all this one globalist melting pot, this Brussels, exactly what Brussels is like, where no one feels truly at home, right? And everything is ugly and gray, and I'm not just talking about the weather. So, Prime Minister Orban is saying the truth. That is the goal. That is exactly the goal. And being called a fascist or a racist, I mean, we joked about it, right? My Wikipedia page says that. I really couldn't care less at this point. I just want my country back. I want my country back. And for that, we need active policy. And I'm sure we'll touch on that. But please, all I can say to you is don't let it get that far. I need to argue for remigration now. In Hungary, you have to protect your borders and continue to protect your borders. Closing our borders now is no longer enough. So we have a lot more work to do, and you can save yourself a whole lot of hassle by not voting the wrong way very, very soon.
I've wrote about Viktor Orban in this book, page 156. And I wrote, Orban's policy was clear. As the only EU member state, he had comprehensive border security facilities built in the summer of 2015. As the only EU country, he insisted that illegal migration would not be tolerated and that those who entered illegally would be turned back. As the only country in the European Union, Hungary defended the existing legal provision laid down in the Dublin agreements. As the only head of government, Orban, defamed as an anti-European, defended valid European law. And I think it's true.
And it is true, but seemingly and visibly, liberal, globalist, progressive elites from Brussels, they are not able to stop. Manfred Weber, just recently, today, he gave an interview to the Süddeutsche Zeitung. Just my colleague showed me a few minutes earlier. Manfred Weber, he's from the very same party as Angela Merkel. He is from the very same EPP, of which the Hungarian Tisza party, this new party of Magyar Péter is. And Manfred Weber said that still, we do need migration. Migration is a good thing. And the problem is not with migration, but the problem is with the far-right parties and far-right politicians like AfD, like FPÖ, like Rassemblement National, Le Pen from France, who are trying to oppose migration. But that is just as a preliminary statement. Before my question, as we see the political behavior, not only of Merkel, who already retired.
Merkel was not alone.
She wasn't alone.
There was Weber, there was Merz, there was Werner Faymann. There is today Christian Stocker in Austria. There's Friedrich Merz. They are
von der Leyen as well.
horses.
Yes.
They are not conservative.
So, my question would be about political responsibility. Who is responsible for all of this? It's a very exact question, who and when made that bad decision? And did this bad decision lead to an irreversible situation that you cannot throw tens of millions of migrants out of Europe from one day to another? So is there a point of no return for Western European politics? How do you see that? Who is responsible for this?
It is the most difficult question to answer because just like Gerald said...
Welcome.
Yes, there isn't one person responsible. If only it were that easy, right? So I think it was Robert Malone, I don't know if you guys know him, a doctor who was very active during the COVID days, and he was constantly talking about the fact that we live in a society that is facing fifth generational warfare. So it's a type of warfare against the own citizenry, and you can't exactly see who your enemies are. Because we're dealing, of course, with government officials that are not elected, bureaucrats, and all the responsibility is, it's such a vague, like, house of cards, and we don't know exactly who to target. Of course, there are people in front, like Merkel, like Merz, like all the people basically who govern our country. So I would say, let's focus on them first and foremost. But where this all came from, well, I mean, I probably would have to leave this up to the Austrian-German speaker on this stage, but my 2 cents on this is that this started absolutely after the Second World War. You can tell with the human rights treaties that still today are being used constantly to make any effort on the right wing impossible. They're saying, no, we have to protect human rights. And again, all those human rights treaties, they negate the Christian history of this continent, right? And they also are only used to protect the human rights of the people who come here to live a better life, not of the native populations of Europe. So that, plus the fact that those people they pretend not to know the difference between a Christian conservative and a Nazi. They think it's the same thing. A Christian conservative is a Nazi in their eyes. That's why they call us that all the time. And that has power. That had power after the Second World War, obviously. And I think that now we are starting to see that, thankfully, also in the German-speaking world. Look at this book. You know, that means of trying to silence people trying to silence them is no longer working. I think that we've been called Nazis and fascists and all of that enough. And like I said, now it's between either being called that and fighting for your country and having some hope for the future of your country, or just, accepting what they label you. And of course, there is hope.
Look,
remigration is our only hope.
Mikkel, 7 months ago, there was election in Germany, or 8 months, Bundestagswahl. And before the election, Friedrich Merz said, we need the Obergrenze, we need the control for migration, we need secure borders. Today in the afternoon, I will drive to Munich, because I have a book presentation tomorrow in Würzburg. And I think there is no control on the border between Austria. I'm sure there is no control between Austria and Germany.
So they will let you in to Germany?
They are not conservatives. Friedrich Merz is not a conservative politician. Also not Mr. Weber.
We know about that.
First. Second, what we need real conservative leaders. Under the leadership of Viktor Orban, with Herbert Kickl in Austria, with Marine Le Pen in France, with Matteo Salvini in Italy.
Frau Weidel.
Oder Frau Weidel or Tino Kruppala in Germany. That we need. Real conservative people. Not, I say in Austria, I say scheinkonservativ.
They're worse than the Marxists.
Yes. Scheinkonservative. That's
because they're traitors.
Yeah.
I mean,
we need real conservative people, and we need politicians. They do that what they declare before the election. Was very.
It's always the same story. Oh yeah, this time we'll really close the borders, guys. We'll really do it. And then,
Thank you for the translation.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Eva.
Maybe the last question to you, but I'm sure that for our audience, Hungarian audience, is the most important.
Yeah. Angela Merkel is today in Budapest. I know it.
Yes.
How dare she? How dare she?
But
Shame
we are
on
also
her.
here, yeah?
No, but shame on her.
Yeah?
Shame on her. Of course, she's here for a book presentation as well, right? But this woman destroyed our continent. She destroyed our continent, and she comes here as if it's nothing, enjoying the very Europe that she is trying to destroy, to publicize her book. Excuse me? And then they say, oh, Hungary is a fascist state. If it were, would you have let Merkel in? My goodness.
But my question is not about Merkel, but it's a good thing that you told about that. Cherry on the top of the cake, she will do her book presentation at the University of George Soros. But that's a
Case closed.
story in a nutshell. But my
The title of the book is Freedom.
Oh, no, but see, it's diabolical.
Right.
They invert everything. They invert everything. How dare she?
You're really interested in Angela Merkel.
Yeah, I have as you can tell, getting a bit warm here. It's,
Terrorism is no freedom. Knife attacks are not freedom.
But
no, but this anger is necessary, though. It is necessary because it's righteous anger. What they did, I think, on a historical level, you can't compare it to anything that has happened to Europe before, because it's not an invasion from a foreign army. This was orchestrated by the people who are supposed to represent this, and we are paying for it. It's our taxpayers' money that is allowing this to happen. If we don't get really angry, I think we aren't angry enough, in fact, nothing will change.
I will try to channel your argumentation into my question. Angela Merkel, CDU, European People's Party. European People's Party, Manfred Weber and his gang. And we do have our own Manfred Weber. He's called Péter Magyar. And his party, the Tisza Party, it's a member of the European People's Party. And I mentioned also already during my preliminary remarks at the beginning of our conversation, that this is a party which supports the Migration Pact, which supports the fine that was posed in Hungary because of border protection. And just recently, one of their experts argued that the border fence is just some type of prestige investment, and it's not that important. That's for you about the Hungarian situation. And of course, we'll have elections next year. Patriots, sovereignists versus the puppets of Brussels. What would be your advice for the Hungarians? What should we follow and what should we avoid in order not to have the maybe reversible but maybe irreversible situation that you have now in Western Europe?
You want freedom, you want safe cities, you want your own identity, you want a Christian tradition, then you must vote Viktor Orban.
Fair enough. Eva?
I have nothing to add except for the fact that you have been on the right track. Don't get off of it. It's that simple. It's that simple. Vote Viktor Orban.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very proud, not only because we did have two fantastic guests on stage today, but also because I managed to stick to the time limit. But honestly, it was fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your opinion, for your very honest comments and argumentation. And I do hope that we can welcome you in our beautiful capital in the forthcoming month and years in a secure and brave country and city that protects not only the Hungarian but the European borders as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
Nagyon szépen köszönöm önöknek a figyelmet. Még csinálunk egy gyors selfit, ahogy a social media szabályai megkívánják, és utána pedig egy rövid fogadásra várjuk önöket. Köszönjük szépen!